In today's video, I am going to be comparing Gala to Enjin. I'm going to be talking about which one I think is the best and the reasons why I think so. And with all that being said, let's jump straight into it. I mean, if we take a look at Enjin, I think it's important to first understand what Enjin is all about. When it comes to Enjin, it is an NFT issuance platform that is dedicated to the improvement of the gaming ecosystem. And the native token for Enjin is called ENJ. And when it comes to ENJ, it is currently down over 90% from its all-time high price. ENJ as of right now is extremely oversold, and it's very undervalued in my opinion. And I think Enjin being focused on NFTs and gaming is actually a very big deal. And now some people may think, oh, who cares about NFTs? Oh, who cares about gaming? But when it comes to the people who say this, I think they don't know what they're talking about, and let me explain why. First of all, if you take a look at this, you will see that according to Grandview Research, the NFT market is projected to be worth over $211 billion by 2030, so clearly there is a large potential there for NFTs. And if you take a look at the gaming industry, currently there is over 3 billion gamers in the world. I mean, just imagine that. That is nearly half of the world's entire population playing games. So the gaming industry is clearly massive. And according to PwC, in just this year alone, in 2023, the gaming market is projected to have a revenue that is over $257 billion. So the gaming market, it's not only massive, but it also has a lot of revenue, it has a lot of volume. So when I put the two and two together, when I combine NFTs, when I combine gaming, and when I consider its future potential and current size, when I take all of that into consideration, I really do think that Enjin has such a bright future ahead. And by the way, Enjin, they're also focused on the metaverse with something called Efinity. And Efinity is built on top of Polkadot. And I think the metaverse also has a lot of potential as well. If we take a look at this, according to McKinsey, the metaverse industry is projected to generate a value of up to $5 trillion by 2030. And that's insane right there, $5 trillion. I mean, just imagine that. Clearly, the future of the metaverse can't be underestimated. You know, I think Enjin is focused on all the right things. They're focused on NFTs, which has a lot of potential. They're focused on gaming, and they're also focused on the metaverse with Efinity, which I think that, again, right, the metaverse can be so extraordinary in the future. I think Enjin is fantastic, but I also think that Gala is fantastic as well. First of all, much like Enjin, Gala is also focused on the metaverse. They're also focused on NFTs, and they're also focused on gaming as well. And usually when people think about Gala, they typically only think about Gala as being Gala Games. However, when it comes to the Gala ecosystem, they're not only focused on just games. They have something called Gala Film and Gala Music, and they're focused on the film and music industry and not just only the gaming industry. And now I will say this, when it comes to film and music, I'm not really that bullish on it moving forward. I think that gaming has a lot more potential, but I do think that Gala Film and Gala Music can most certainly help grow the Gala ecosystem overall in the long term. And I think that is such an excellent addition to Gala, and I think it helps diversify their ecosystem. And with that being said, I want to explain the difference between Gala Games and Enjin more specifically. I want to explain what they're all about and the difference between the two. When it comes to Gala Games, they're actually making their own games, and they're also building their own metaverse. But when it comes to Enjin, they're not building their own metaverse and they're not making their own games. When it comes to Enjin, they are more so just providing a solution for the gaming industry and for the metaverse industry. For example, when it comes to Enjin, they are just providing an NFT issuance platform for the gaming industry. And when it comes to the metaverse, through Efinity, Enjin built that in order to have a cross-chain NFT blockchain that allows for ecosystem interoperability. So again, right, when it comes to Enjin, they're more so just providing a solution and a platform, so to speak. You know, they're not making their own game, they're not making their own metaverse. So when you take a look at Gala Games and when you take a look at Enjin, they're very similar in terms of what they're focused on, but they're very different in terms of their approach. Enjin, they're more so providing a solution, they're providing a platform, while Gala Games, they're more so creating their own stuff, so to speak, creating their own games, creating their own metaverse. And there are both advantages and disadvantages to Gala and Enjin's approach, and let me explain what I mean. First of all, when it comes to Enjin and Efinity, just because they're providing a solution, just due to the nature of it, they are very diverse in terms of their application. They can be used in a wide range of use cases. For example, they can be used across multiple metaverses and as well as multiple games as well. However, in a sense, just because they're not making their own metaverse and just because they're not making their own games, because of that, they're going to have to heavily rely on other games and metaverses to actually utilize them. But on the flip side, when it comes to Gala Games, because they're making their own metaverse, because they're making their own game, they don't really have to rely on, another game or metaverse to use them, so to speak, right? All they have to do is just make their own game, make their own metaverse, and just wait for people to play it. But by doing this, they're also assuming risk as well, because let's say they release a game, let's say they release their own metaverse called the Voxverse. Let's say when they release all that, there is a risk that people potentially play it and then they get bored and they don't want to play it. There's also a potential that, people may not even want to play it at all. But actually, in reality, I think the risk is actually very small. And the reason why I say that is because if we take a look at Gala Games, they have a lot of games available across multiple game genres. They're not focused on just a certain game. They're not just focused on a certain niche of games. They're not like that whatsoever. They're very diverse. And Gala Games, they currently have around 15 games available on their platform. And I actually think this is a very good thing. In fact, I think it's a genius move by Gala Games in terms of wanting to have this many games available. And the reason why I think that way is because if you think about it, right, having a lot more games actually protects them against the downside. Because essentially, the way I view it, by them having that many games, it actually gives them a higher probability of success. Because in reality, right, you never really know what game is going to pop off, so to speak. You just never know. If Gala Games, they only released maybe 1 or 2 games, if those games don't pick up, then what happens, right? Then it's not going to be good. But because they have so many games available, there's essentially more chances that a game will pop off, so to speak. It's much like in real life, in my opinion, and I'm going to use this example to just showcase what I mean. For example, let's say a random person off the street got 10 chances to try to hit the bullseye on the darts. Now, the probability of that person hitting the bullseye with just 10 chances is probably not that high. But if let's say this person had 1,000 chances to try to hit the bullseye, then the probability of him actually hitting the bullseye is much higher. And it's no different when it comes to Gala Games. By having a lot more games, they have a higher probability of success. Overall, the way I view it is that both Gala Games and Enjin, they're both very amazing. They have amazing fundamentals. But Enjin, the way I take a look at it, they're more so reliant on other people using them, again, like I mentioned before. But when it comes to Gala Games, they are more so reliant on themselves. For example, when it comes to Enjin, if a game doesn't want to use their platform, if a metaverse doesn't want to use Efinity, then they can't really be used at that point, right? But to be honest, I prefer the approach of Gala Games because, again, right, they're making their own thing, they're releasing their own games, and they're creating their own metaverse, and as a result, they don't have to be as reliant on others to get the ball rolling, so to speak. And when it comes to the tokenomics of Gala and Enjin, in terms of inflation, I much prefer ENJ over Gala. If you take a look at ENJ, as of right now, it has a 100% circulating supply. So in terms of potential inflation, it's pretty much non-existent. But when you take a look at Gala, it has a 19% circulating supply. And now, some alarm bells in some people's heads may be going off. They may be thinking, oh my goodness, that's so low. What's going to happen to the inflation of Gala? And I will explain in a bit as to why I don't think it's a big deal. But before I get into that, I first also want to talk about how the Gala team, they like to say that allegedly, at least, that the 19% circulating supply is actually not true. They think it's actually much higher than that. But even despite all that, let's say the 19% circulating supply is true. Let's say that's the case. I still think it's actually not bad at all because Gala currently has an emission rate of around 8 million tokens a day, which means that around 8 million Gala tokens are released each and every day. However, keep in mind that 50% of these emitted tokens go to the Gala conservatorship, and the other 50% goes to the Gala founder node operators. So just to summarize this, around 8 million tokens are released each and every day. Half goes to the Gala conservatorship and half goes to the Gala founder node operators. And Gala has a halving event each and every year. Unlike Bitcoin that happens every 4 years, Gala is actually every year. And what that means is that every year, the emission rate of Gala is reduced by 50%. So sometime around this year, the emission rate of Gala is going to become around 4 million. It's going to be reduced by 50%. And next year, after the halving event, it's going to be around 2 million. And the year after that, around 1 million. And just so on and so on. It's just going to keep going lower and lower over time. And there's no possible way to just randomly mint 50% of the total supply just randomly. It's just not possible when it comes to Gala. Again, right, Gala has an emission rate, so they just can't randomly mint a whole bunch of tokens in a day. It's just not feasible. And the Gala team, they're always focused on trying to reduce inflation when it comes to the Gala token. In fact, right, in Q1 of this year, they are planning a Gala burn mechanism, so to speak. But in reality, it's actually not a burn the way I think about it, and let me explain what I mean by this. And if we take a look at this right here, Bitbender says, for all of Q1 of 2023, when a purchase is made on the Gala platform, the Gala used to make this purchase will be burned. People will still be able to make a purchase in Ethereum or via their credit cards, but all Gala used to purchase digital assets will be burned. It will take several days for this change to fully be implemented, but by the end of next week, any purchase in Gala platform-wide will be an automatic burn. When Gala has been burned, the same quantity is added to the emission pool to be re-emitted via the founders nodes in the normal distribution. This will lengthen the time founder nodes receive emissions. Now, with all that being said, I want to say that at least the way I view it is that this technically isn't a burn, but I still think it's actually very amazing for the Gala token nonetheless. And first of all, I want to explain why I don't think this is a burn. And the reason is because if we take a look at this, right, if the Gala that is burned gets added back to the emission pool to be re-emitted via the founders nodes in the future, then in theory, this really isn't a burn in a traditional sense. You know, it's not like these burn tokens, so to speak, just disappear off from circulation forever. That's not the case. Because you gotta imagine, right, and I just want to visualize this. Let's say someone purchases a digital asset on the Gala platform using Gala. You know, some Gala gets burned, so to speak, but it's actually not getting burned because if it's put back in the emission pool, you know, it's gonna be re-emitted one day, right? It's not like it's just gonna be gone from circulation forever. However, I think this is actually very fantastic news. In fact, I think it's very wonderful for the Gala token, and the reason is because as of right now, there's currently around 8 million Gala distributed each and every day. And here's the thing, when it comes to the Gala token, the emission rate of the Gala token, aka otherwise known as the amount of Gala distributed each and every day, it can't just be randomly increased. There is a set amount. And with this feature now, you know, when people buy Gala on the Gala platform, you know, there's Gala, you know, being put back in the emission pool. That's absolutely amazing because what that means is that the amount of circulating Gala starts to decrease every time someone buys using Gala on the Gala platform. It starts to decrease slowly but surely, but the emission rate still stays the same. So just imagine that what this actually is doing is theoretically making Gala more rare, making Gala more valuable, and reducing the inflation rate when it comes to Gala. So even though this isn't a burn, so to speak, it's still absolutely fantastic because again, right, just imagine as more and more Gala gets put into the emission pool, yet the emission rate still stays the same. Just imagine this. Let's say there's a set amount being put in, you know, 8 million, but people keep buying Gala. More and more Gala is put in this emission pool, yet the emission rate still stays the same. I mean, can you just imagine what happens to the amount of circulating supply when it comes to Gala? It's going to start slowly but surely decreasing. And again, right, as a result, the amount of circulating Gala, you know, starts to decrease. Gala becomes more rare, inflation is reduced, and it's good news for us Gala token holders. So long story short, the way I view it is that this isn't a burn, so to speak, in a traditional sense, but I think it's still amazing nonetheless. The way I take a look at it is that this is the next best thing other than a burn, right? If let's say a burn is 1A, this is 1B. This is the closest thing to a burn while not being a burn, so to speak. So I think with all that being said, I think in terms of tokenomics, more specifically in terms of inflation, I think ENJ still does beat out Gala. Even though I don't think that the Gala inflation is bad, I still do think that ENJ does have Gala beat when it comes to this. But overall, the way I view it is that the Gala inflation, I still think it's very reasonable. And now I want to talk about which one I think has more room to grow. When I take a look at Gala, when I take a look at ENJ, I think Gala has a lot more room to grow than ENJ. You know, when you take a look at Gala, it's lower in market cap. It's down much more from its all-time high price. You take a look at Gala, it's down around 20 times lower than its all-time high price, while ENJ is only down around 10 times. Gala has a market cap of around $290 million, whereas ENJ has around a $440 million market cap. Overall, when I take a look at it, just from a potential growth standpoint of view, I think Gala has ENJ beat because the way I view it is that the lower the market cap, the more room it has to grow. I think Gala just overall has a lot more potential upside, but when I take into consideration the fundamentals, when I take into consideration what they're actually focused on and their approach, when I take all of that into account, I really do think that Gala has Enjin slightly beat. And now, am I saying Enjin is bad? I'm not saying that whatsoever. In fact, I both own ENJ and Gala. So I really do believe in the future of both Enjin and Gala. I just think that Gala's fundamentals is just a little bit better than Enjin, and I think it has more potential upside as well. In conclusion, Gala is the winner for me. And if you want to check out a very interesting video, make sure to go ahead and check out this video right here. It's amazing, it's wonderful, it's fantastic, and I think you all would really love it.